Folks, what if you're wrong about your home being detached? I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending March 13th, 2024. Thank you to the many of you that have subscribed recently, but there's lots of you that watch every single week. I assume you enjoy the content. Consider subscribing. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link. Below in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that and book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So why do I say, what if you're wrong about your home being detached? Well, I was recently speaking to somebody, and that's exactly what happened. They called me, they wanted to sell, they invited me over. I was at their home looking at the property. I'd shown them my research of the price I think their home should sell at. And the properties they're comparing to were a little bit different than the properties I was using to compare their home to. I was comparing their home to linked homes. They were comparing their properties to other properties that have sold that were detached properties. There's a difference, and their home was a linked home. They didn't know that. They bought their property about 2 years ago, and now they want to sell their linked home thinking it's a detached. For those of you that don't know what a linked home is, let me explain quickly. It looks like a detached in most cases. You're standing on the street, you're looking at the home, it's not attached. But somehow, some way, underground, the foundation, it's connected to the other home beside it. And often you'll see it kind of close to one side of the other home beside you, but not above ground. It's not attached. So when you're looking, it looks like, yeah, it's a little close to the other home, but it's a detached property. Well, it doesn't even have to be the whole foundation underground that's attached. It could be just a little piece. And the reason, there's different reasons why builders have built these linked homes. One very, very simple reason is if the foundations are attached, then they could save a few bucks on foundation costs, on construction costs, but they could put more homes in the same amount of space where a detached. So you could maybe put, 2 detached in one section or 3 linked homes in one section, depending on how the math works out. But usually the frontages are a little bit smaller. So they don't build too many of these homes. I don't necessarily know of any new projects where they're building linked homes, but there was a time where these homes were being built, but they look like detached. And when this family that I'm speaking with purchased 2 years ago, they were comparing to detached homes. And that's what they based their purchase price on. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But one of several things happened. Either their realtor did not do the research and did not advise them and say, hey, this is a linked home. We should be comparing to other linked homes. Or their realtor did do the research and didn't update them. Their lawyer didn't catch it or didn't do something along the way, messed up, and these people bought a linked home thinking it was a detached home. Now, again, on the outside, when you're looking, it doesn't even come up because it looks like a regular home. But if you do the research and you do you pull up the land registry and you can see how the home is registered, it'll say link home instead of detached property. It'll say townhouse, it'll say semi, whatever that property is. The listing that they bought from, or when they bought the property, the MLS listing at the time said detached properties. And it was wrong. And I see it today. There's link homes that are listed for sale, but the MLS listing will say detached property. So somebody, the realtor, needs to do the research to pull up and to decide, is it an actually detached property? Anyways, here's the problem. They bought as a detached, and the link homes do have a lesser value. Not a ton, but it could be a matter of 30,000, 50,000, 75,000 less. It depends on the property and the neighborhood. But these people bought thinking it's a detached, and now they've called me and I'm pricing it as a link home. That's the disconnect. They already have an obstacle in buying 2 years ago versus where the market is today. Now they have another obstacle on top of that, the fact that I'm pricing it as a link home, and it's not working out well. It's not working in their favor. So, moral of the story, you need to work with somebody who's doing the research and advising you as to what you're buying. That's a simple thing, but you really need to know what you're buying. And sometimes the obvious is not always obvious, because when you're standing on the street and looking at their home, it's obvious it's a detached property, but it's not. It's a link home. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into the numbers. So let's get into the numbers. I have here just the summary. Markham, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, these are average sold prices for detached properties only. All the data we're talking today is for detached properties only. This is a quick summary. Let's take a closer look. We're going to start off with Vaughan. 27 detached properties were sold for week ending March 13th. 10 of those were at $2 million or more. Now 27, it's a big drop from what we sold the previous week. Sales are up and down. I'd love to be able to say, yeah, here's the trend, here's the pattern. I'm a little bit stuck with Vaughan telling you which way we're going. We were going up, then we went down for a couple of weeks. Then, we saw the high there of 40 or 39 being sold, thinking, okay, well, sales are trending up. I could look past these 2 weeks and say sales are trending up, but now they're back down again. Was it because of the March break? Maybe, but we've got to kind of wait and see what happens over the next few weeks to decide whether this was an abnormal week or 27, 30 in a week is maybe going to be normal. We don't know that yet. Average price, $1,785,000. If I kind of try to look the overall trend, to me, it looks like even though up and down each week, it overall looks like prices are trending up in the Vaughan region for detached properties. Compared to last year, 1,785, 2% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 3% lower than where we were this time a year ago. And looking at the dotted line as a gauge, the dotted line is a 4-week moving average. Yeah, kind of looks like prices are trending upwards, both for median and average prices. Not by a lot though, just coasting, trending upwards a little bit. 27 were sold, 41% sold at list price or more, so it's not so aggressive. 74 were listed, 251 are available for sale, which is active listings, and that is trending upwards. There's more, each week there's more and more properties available for sale that are not sold. Months of inventory all over the show here. We're sitting at 2.1 months of inventory. I'm having a hard time finding a pattern here. Months of inventory is down, then up, then down, then up, and that has to do with the sales. You see active listings, it's trending up, but it's very consistent and it's not aggressive. Sales, however, are up, down, up, down. Those aren't consistent, and that's what's causing months of inventory to kind of bounce up and down. It's hard to pick where the norm is. If I had to guess, the overall average is probably 2 or high 1.9, 1.8 is probably more of the normal, and that's why you get prices kind of sort of trending up, but not so aggressively, because we are in a seller's market, but by no means is it an aggressive seller's market. Let's take a look at Richmond Hill. 23 detached properties were sold. 6 of those were at $2 million or more. Now, average sold price came way down to $1,724,000. Now, there's always a mixture of properties being sold at different price points. It just seems that quite a bit for this week were sold more in the lower price point of properties that sell in Richmond Hill versus a little bit higher. You know, we have the amount of luxury properties, we've labeled it at $2 million or more. Well, what if there's a whole bunch selling at 1.8 and 1.9? It's going to help bring up the overall average. What if a bunch of those properties are in the 1.5, 1.4 range and fewer at the 1.8 or 1.9, it's going to change. And sometimes it happens in a week where there's a bit out of the ordinary type of sales, let's say. So we're sitting at $1,724,000. What's the average price doing? And what's really tough to say. I mean, we can get rid of the super low week here. We can get rid of the super high week over there. And if I get rid of those two out of the ordinary, kind of looks like to me average prices may be trending down in Richmond Hill. Compared to last year, 1,724, it's 9% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 13% lower. I've got the dotted line here, the 4-week moving average, but it's really hard to look at that and pick a trend just because I know it's taken into account the super high weeks, it's taken into account the super low weeks, and the trend line is normally used to kind of smoothen out the highs and the lows, but they're all over the place right now. I don't even have a lot of confidence in picking out the trend line right now and saying this is the direction. But it kind of looks like average prices over the previous 1 to 2 months is actually trending down in Richmond Hill. 23 were sold. Half, 52% sold at list price or more. 50 detached properties were listed. Active listings are increasing, not by that much. And months of inventory sitting at 2.2 months of inventory. For a while, we're getting closer to the 3 months of inventory. If you look at the last few weeks here, here's where I'm kind of looking at, average prices seem to be overall trending down. Here's Markham. Markham is just, when it comes to Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham is usually more aggressive, more activity, lower months of inventory. That's kind of what I mean by more aggressive. The supply-demand imbalance is there's a lot more demand, it seems, in Markham. So 30 detached properties were sold. 11 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price, $1,894,000. Average sold prices in Markham, to me, seem to be trending upwards. Compared to last year, 1,894 is 11% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 6% higher. The dotted line takes the highs and the low. It's kind of flat, but overall I would say, because we've got in some of the weeks, in some of the other areas, we take the really high one out of the equation. Well, here we've got 1 week that was extremely low. If we were to remove the 1 week and say, that wasn't a normal week, we maybe shouldn't consider it, you could see that the trend line then would be sloped upwards a little bit. 30 were sold, 80% sold at list price or more. Very aggressive, Markham. 49 were listed. Active listings is increasing just like other areas. Months of inventory sitting at 1.4 months of inventory. We were a few weeks back at 1.3, went up to 1.7. Now we're back down to 1.4 for a couple of weeks now. We're in a seller's market. Not so aggressive, although it's kind of contradictory to when I say 80% are sold at list price or more. Here's a quick summary. We're not in a buyer's market, but there will be some rare situations and rare pockets that maybe you might experience more of a buyer's type of market. You will see a balanced market in some pockets, but other pockets you're going to see more of a seller's type of market. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.